Every so often, prize fighting gives us the perfect paradox. A predator built to finish bouts in seconds, colliding with a champion who looks half spent by round two, yet somehow grows stronger. That paradox lands in Chicago on August 16th when Dricus du Plessis, the self-styled African tank, puts his middleweight crown on the line against Khamzat Borz Chimaev, the Chechen-Swedish Wolf, whose first-round maulings once made an entire division flinch. It isn't just the best bout the UFC can book. It's a referendum on two wildly different paths to greatness. One man claws forward through pure persistence. The other detonates like TNT the instant the bell rings. Fans have circled this date since it leaked in May, and ticket servers crashed within minutes of the official announcement. Proof that hype is alive and well in the Windy City. Yet numbers rarely tell the full story. Du Plessis, undefeated in 9 UFC bouts, has bled, wheezed, and staggered before turning tables on men the internet insisted were levels above. Chimaev, unbeaten across 2 weight classes, has smashed faces, dominated scorecards, and, if we're honest, rattled a few diplomatic cages along the way. Tonight we peel back every layer of this matchup. The myths, the rumors, the politics, and the raw skill sets that make UFC 319 feel less like a prize fight and more like a bomb counting down to zero. Dricus du Plessis never fit MMA's tidy archetypes. Analysts pegged him awkward, slow, even gassed after just 6 minutes. Then he wrecked Darren Till, mauled Robert Whittaker, and pocketed back-to-back decisions over the iron-chinned Sean Strickland, won by inches, won by miles. ESPN.com. Out of nowhere, the South African became a ranking shredder. His style is a fistful of contradictions, a lunging jab that shouldn't land but does, a judo base he uses for surprise trips, and a cardio engine that looks empty before surging into a final, vicious overdrive. What truly unsettles opponents is his comfort in chaos. Du Plessis refuses to give clean reads, stance switches mid-punch, head dips mid-kick, and an inside low kick to clinch chain that turns technical strikers into panicked wrestlers. Critics once laughed at the herky-jerky rhythm, now they study it like a new dialect. Training in Pretoria's altitude, he walks around heavier than some light heavies, 225 to 230 pounds, then strips down to 185 like a wrestler weeks from the Olympics. That cut would nuke most engines. For Du Plessis, it's a lesson in misery management. And misery, he insists, is where many technically superior foes crumble. Still, belts attract problems that hooks and uppercuts can't solve. Du Plessis' first viral moment wasn't a knockout. It was a microphone. "I'm the first real African champion," he declared after flattening Till, a line aimed at champions who train elsewhere but were born on the continent. Israel Adesanya, Nigerian Kiwi superstar, responded with a profanity-laced tirade that overshadowed the entire post-fight presser. Headlines screamed racism, forums split into Pan-African pride debates, and the UFC marketing team, smelling PPV gold, played both sides until the story burned itself out. Fast forward to April 2025. Keyboard detectives spotted Du Plessis in a Johannesburg clinic and declared his shin shattered, fight off, reign doomed. The champ logged onto Instagram that night. False. I choose when and where I defend. The message racked up 1 million views in 24 hours, debunking the rumor and juicing anticipation for UFC 319. In truth, controversy has become an unlikely missile in Du Plessis' hype arsenal, an energy source he neither created nor controls, but certainly rides whenever the spotlight tilts his way. Across the cage, however, stands a man whose controversies dial past 10 and into geopolitical territory. Khamzat Chimaev stormed into the UFC bubble in July 2020, racked up 2 finishes in 10 days, and made Dana White wonder aloud if the promotion had located MMA's future. 3 more wins followed, 2 at welterweight, 1 at middleweight, and suddenly the phrase Chimaev by murder became betting shorthand. Fans loved the violence. Foes hated the inevitability. Then came the Gilbert Burns War, a 3-round bloodbath that proved Chimaev was mortal, but no less menacing. From there, the timeline slowed. A botched weight cut scratched a Nate Diaz headliner, whispers of visa trouble surfaced, and the man once likened to a shark smelling blood found himself landlocked outside American borders. The bottleneck broke in 2025 when Chimaev, now a UAE citizen, finally secured a U.S. visa. Cameras spotted him strolling LAX arrivals in early July, grinning like someone who'd snuck past the final boss. Fight fans rejoiced. Pundits raised eyebrows about timing, but the destination was set: Chicago. 1 month later, he would bulldoze Robert Whittaker on a Saudi fight card, planting the flag for his long-awaited title run. The Wolf's aura, dulled by delays, flickered back to life. Yet a shadow still stretches across his journey. One politics alone can cast. MMA rarely intersects diplomacy, but Chimaev's open friendship with Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov forced the crossover. U.S. sanctions label Kadyrov a human rights violator. Photos of Chimaev dining with a strongman triggered questions neither fighter nor promotion seemed eager to answer. Reports suggested the association jeopardized his ability to fight in Vegas or New York, and early 2024 leaks claimed UFC 300 lost him as a potential headliner for precisely that reason. The UFC pivoted, booking UFC 308 in Riyadh instead, where Chimaev disfigured Whittaker in under a round. No visas required, no questions asked. Now, with paperwork seemingly solved, Chimaev stands on U.S. soil once more, but the political baggage remains. Sean Strickland blasted him as best buds with dictators, while advocacy groups lobbied sponsors to pull endorsements. The result? Even casual fans know there's more to this bout than punches and takedowns. It's a reminder that every era-defining star carries at least one headline the UFC doesn't print on posters. Strip away rumors and press conference venom, and you're left with pure combat calculus. Explosive entry versus awkward angles. Chimaev's signature double leg travels the length of the cage in a blink. Du Plessis' stance-switching jab disrupts level change timing. First five fury versus deep water durability. 78% of Chimaev's finishes come inside 5 minutes. 60% of Du Plessis' stoppages arrive after round 2. Control chains versus scramble chaos. On top, Chimaev rides cross-wrist control like a Dagestani, pinning hips and punching ears until foes offer the neck. Du Plessis counters with judo hip tosses in the clinch, often reversing ground positions when rivals chase a lazy trip. Cardio myths tested. Critics swear Chimaev fades after 8 frenetic minutes, pointing to the Burns barn burner. Supporters cite New Dubai conditioning coaches and vow full-tank Borz is a different animal. For Du Plessis, the myth cuts opposite: visible fatigue, disguised recovery. He looks exhausted, then detonates with a 3-piece that buckles knees. The clash feels almost cinematic. Unstoppable start versus unbreakable finish. Which attribute buckles first? The Wolf's early thunder or the tank's late torque? The cut and the scale. Du Plessis' 40-pound cuts are legendary for discipline and infamous for risk. A rough rehydration could sap bounce from his lead leg, killing the explosive entries that fuel surprise clinches. Chimaev, meanwhile, hasn't missed 185 in 2 outings, but insiders swear he still hovers near 200 pounds fight week. One bad sauna session can erase a training camp. Chimaev's knee whisper fight forums erupted last week after a leaked Dubai sparring clip showed Chimaev icing his right knee. No official word from camp, but gamblers reacted. Odds moved from minus 180 to minus 150 overnight. Could be precaution, could be nothing, until he shoots a level change and the joint hollers in rebellion. Altitude aftershocks. Pretoria's oxygen-thin climbs turned du Plessis into a high-altitude monster. Chicago sits near sea level. Sometimes that translates to super lungs, sometimes it tanks pacing. Conversely, Chimaev's Dubai camp, trained in heat and humidity, Illinois may feel like spring break. The crowd factor Chicago crowds boo villains with relish, and rumors say local Chechen and South African communities each bought out entire sections. The atmosphere may resemble a soccer derby. For fighters who feed on emotion, hostile roars can be rocket fuel, or a head rush that drains composure in seconds. If du Plessis wins, he layers a third title defense atop a resume skeptics can no longer mock. More importantly, he unlocks leverage to stage a stadium headliner in Johannesburg, something he's dangled in interviews since that first fiery, real African proclamation. A victory cements him as the most improbable great of the post-Adesanya era, an awkward battering ram who forced elegance to kneel. If Chimaev wins, the entire UFC middleweight narrative shifts overnight. An undefeated two-division wrecking ball resurfaces, visas seemingly tamed, political storms be damned. Dana White has already teased double champ ambitions. Imagine Chimaev chasing light heavyweight gold by January. Business booms, headaches multiply. The Wolf scenarios almost write themselves, and the UFC's matchmakers secretly adore options. Financially, UFC 319 is projected to break the company's non-McGregor PPV record, assuming the main event holds. The stakes then spill beyond the title and into boardrooms, marketing budgets, international expansion, and broadcast renegotiations all ride on who exits the octagon with leather and gold strapped to their waist. People love neat narratives, striker versus grappler, hero versus villain, but this clash refuses simplicity. Du Plessis' striking is messy yet brutally efficient. Chimaev's grappling is violent poetry, but his boxing cracked Gilbert Burns' skull and floored Whitaker in Riyadh. Their mental games differ too. The champ weaponizes doubt, yours, his, the world's, turning underdog status into afterburner fuel. The challenger weaponizes inevitability, smash, eat, repeat, drowning nuance with primal certainty. Together, they form a paradox so combustible the UFC built an entire summer schedule around it. And then there's the undercurrent no one can ignore. Both men carry nations on their backs, literally and figuratively. Du Plessis walks out under a South African flag he describes as a promise kept. Chimaev drapes either the Swedish blue and yellow or the new UAE tricolor, sometimes both, triggering fresh debates about identity, allegiance, and opportunism. In a sport that thrives on blurred lines, their flags flap like twin lightning rods for every comment section. Philosopher alive. When the doors lock and cameras whirl at United Center, talk ends. If the Wolf secures a takedown in the first minute, we may witness another face crank massacre. Proof that rage, technique, and momentum can flatten even the sturdiest tank. But if the tank crawls out of hell and drags Chimaev into the third round, every ounce of late fight uncertainty returns. History suggests du Plessis grows stronger where others wilt. Chimaev's skeptics insist his gas tank still ticks down like dynamite. Someone's legend crumbles on August 16th. Either the Wolf howls through 1850 and hunts bigger prey, or the tank rolls over the final doubter and rumbles off toward an African homecoming. Until that bell rings, speculators will speculate, sportsbooks will swing, and highlight reels will loop past triumphs and controversies alike. But once those first punches land, narrative evaporates, leaving only two bewilderingly different paths converging in a single violent moment. Whatever happens, remember this. Paradoxes don't last forever. They explode. And UFC 319 feels like the detonation we've been promised since the pandemic first unleashed a soft-spoken Chechen and an awkward South African on combat sports' grandest stage. One will walk out carrying a belt. The other will discover whether hype or heart can really survive a head-on collision with destiny.